Thank you. We may be seated. I would like to observe the protocol this morning. We are joined by Honorable Dr. Sanet Steenkamp, Minister of Education, Innovation, Youth, Sports, Arts and Culture, in short, MESAC. Honorable Wenzel Kavaka, Deputy Minister of Information and Communication Technology, my boss. Her Excellency Anna Beatrice Martens, EU Ambassador to Namibia. His Excellency Mr. Neil Bradley, British High Commissioner within our midst. Welcome, sir. Ms. Eunice Smith, Head of Office and UNESCO Representative to Namibia. Ms. Gwen Lister, she is a veteran, Chairperson of the NMT and Media Foundation Board of Directors. Ms. Rosalia Penda, Acting Executive Director, Ministry of ICT. Ms. Namtenya Hamwalwa, Deputy Director, National Library and Archives Services. Mr. Toivo Njebela, Baja Boy, EFN Chairperson. Members of the Diplomatic Corps present, representatives from UNESCO and the European Union, distinguished guests. I do not wish to omit anyone from this salutation, please. Distinguished members of the media and fellow journalists, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Asteria Nangula Njenja. I am the Chief Media Officer, or Chief Information Officer, pardon me, at the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, heading the subdivision of publications or production under the director, Mr. Ngitila, who is not present today, but we are under the Directorate of Government Information Services. Thank you. My job here today is very simple, just to direct the program, not to give any speech, but I talk too much, so I'll try by all means to keep to the program as we celebrate the World Press Freedom Day 2026. And today we are doing a handover of the Windhoek Declaration Certificate of Inscription. Well, this is an important occasion for Namibia specifically because of the history that we are also going to hear today. And if you see in front of my of the podium here, the history is already, presented there as to why we are here this morning in Namibia once again, reaffirming our history and our enduring commitment to press freedom, freedom of expression, and independent journalism. Ladies and gentlemen, as we settle in our seats, I just wanted to ask, just by the raise of hands, who was around in 1991? Now, we date back there. I was around, but I can't tell how old I was so that people calculate my age. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like us to just get into our program to officially welcome us today to this event. It is my honor to invite Ms. Namtenya Hamwalwa, Deputy Director of National Library and Archive Services, to deliver the welcoming remarks. Let's give her a big round of applause, please.
Thank you very much, Director of Ceremonies, Honorable Minister, and Honorable Deputy Minister. Please allow me to stand on the protocol that's already observed. As indicated, my name is Namtenya Hamwalwa. I'm a Deputy Director for Namibia Library and Archive Service and currently acting as a Director. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor and privilege to warmly welcome you to the National Library and National Archives of Namibia. You see, this building where you are sitting today is hosting key institutions in the country. When you talk about preservation of information, you think about National Library and National Archives. So apart from welcoming you to this building, I would also like to welcome you to this day, where we are commemorating the World Press Freedom Day 2026 and celebrate the inscription of the Windhoek Declaration in the UNESCO Memory of the World Register. It's a very important event, and I would want you to give it up for Namibia. One of the very important activity that I would want to tell the guests today is that when you are in this building, the National Library, National Archives of Namibia, this is a place where you don't feel alone. You are always in the company either of a good book, a good record, or warm and inspiring friends. When you come here, this building is always full. This is a place where stories live, where knowledge breathes, and where history quietly whispers. This is a place where people, when boredom comes, lots of us, when we are bored, we go shopping. So I would want to encourage you, when boredom strikes, please come to the National Library or National Archive of Namibia. It's cheaper here. You know, you don't have to spend a lot, and it's even more quiet here. There will be no social media complaints. What will happen here when you are here is you'll be sharpening your mind and thinking and understanding. If today is your first visit to the National Archive, National Library of Namibia, please know that we welcome you with special warmth and excitement, and we hope it becomes a place where you will return to more often. To our regular visitors, researchers, readers, and friends of the library and archives, welcome home. Your continued presence gives life and meaning to these institutions. Ladies and gentlemen, your presence here today demonstrates our collective commitment to the promotion of press freedom, freedom of expression, and access to information, and the important role of the media in advancing democracy and development. Director of Ceremony just asked who was around in 1991. I, for one, was interested to know what happened on the day I was born. What was the news? I went to the National Library. They have newspapers dating back, even on the day that I was born. I sat with that newspaper reading what was happening. It's very interesting, especially now. During COVID, somebody would say, what happened during COVID? The people who were born during COVID, they were like, what happened on the day that I was born? I was quite interested as well to know that. And if you are that curious, you can still get what happened on the day, the news of the day that you were born. The information is here. So an informed nation is a stronger nation, and it's more a resilient nation. And from the Library and Archive Service, our services are also anchored on access to credible and reliable information, as it enables citizens to make informed decisions and actively contribute to the national development. And that's something that we have in common with the journalists. They write, we keep. What we keep, we hope it's reliable. When they write, we say, who and who wrote this? And we evaluate from the library and archives perspective. So it's therefore essential that we continue to strengthen the collaboration among government institutions, media organizations, civil society and development partners in promoting media freedom, media literacy, and responsible journalism. As we gather here today, let's use this occasion not only to celebrate the invaluable contribution of the media, but also to reaffirm our shared responsibility to protect and uphold the principles of freedom of expression and access to information. I would like to sincerely thank all stakeholders, all organizers and partners and participants for taking time to be here today at this very important occasion. And I think it's the first time in history that we have an engagement of this nature. Journalists and media practitioners as content creator meeting up with the librarians and archivists as preservers of our documentary heritage. Please give it up for the information sector. As I indicated earlier, we are committed to saying what you create as journalists, we keep for posterity. We keep it for the future generation. We have records. A single record is this. With us, it can last us 100 years. In the same format, same texture, we keep it safe. One day, somebody will come and say, what happened in May 8, 2026? If we have a picture of you, we will show that you are here. It's evidence that you are here. So with those few remarks, ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the National Library, National Archives. I hope you will have a fruitful and engaging deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hamngalwa, for that fruitful and mind-refreshing welcoming remarks, and we feel welcome really to the National Library. Do we need membership after we're done to enter the library? Okay. They say behind every informed citizen is a journalist who asked just one more question to clarify things. And we also would like to thank the National Library and Archives for documenting our history and actually preserving the history and everything that really need to be kept for the future generation. Because you will go there, and if you were born in 1991, surely, was it in existence? Was the library in existence before that? Yes, you'll be able to retrieve photos, information, and mostly newspapers, very old newspapers, that you can actually, as she said, trace you back to the dates of history, the dates of how newspapers such as the Namibian, I do not want to single it out, but I learned that in my journalism class. It was mostly made as an example, how they actually tried by all means to tell the stories to the public, to disseminate information and the news to the public. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to move on to the next speaker this morning. The chairperson of the Editors Forum of Namibia, which also continues to play a critical role in advancing ethical journalism and safeguarding the media freedom in our country. Please, let's welcome Mr. Toivo Njebela, the chairperson of the Editors Forum.
Thank you, Director of Ceremonies. I heard your middle name for the first time today. You said it's Nangula? Did you say Nangula? Okay. Yeah, we understand the meaning of Nangula, then we do Asteria, so we'll stick to Nangula going forward. Yeah, so thank you for having us here. I don't want to bore everybody by repeating the protocol already, but we welcome the high table, and indeed everybody who has made time. You could have been anywhere today, Ambassador, His Excellency from the UK. It's Friday. You could have been touring the country or anything, but you chose to be with us. So we don't take that lightly. From the Editors Forum, I think first and foremost, we are very grateful. The latest press freedom rankings are out. Namibia is number 2, as we would know now, in Africa. Still an unfamiliar territory in some way, because we love being number 1 in Africa. But number 2 is not bad either. So we feel like it's a reflection of the past 12 months, it has been a relatively calm year in the country in terms of, just the dynamics related to our work. So it doesn't surprise us too much that we are at number 2 in Africa. Number 23rd in the world, having, of course, moved also 5 places up. That, again, is not a small feat. We don't take that for granted. So congratulations to all the journalists in the country. Of course, like I always say, when there's no press freedom in a country, governments get blamed for that. So it's only fair that when the opposite is true, that we also commend our government. Honorable Steenkamp, please, you are the one who sits in cabinet here, and Honorable Kavaka, of course, as a new Deputy Minister of Information, that we are grateful that we have a government that understands the importance of our work. In her message on the Press Freedom Day some 5 days ago, the President reaffirmed again the commitment of her government to press freedom. So we don't take that for granted. Yesterday, by pure coincidence, the editors met with the Prime Minister on his invitation. We went to his office for a meet and greet, as he called it, to again reaffirm, even from his level going down, the commitment of government towards press freedom. So that was good, especially against the background that lately there's been talks among the media. I've been approached twice. I have to be transparent. One message was from the Namibian newspaper, another one was from MBC. So you have a private sector practitioner and a public sector, if you like, state-owned media house, both of them asking me that what is the Editors Forum's view on what they perceive as public institutions not forthcoming in providing information to the media. Of course, I was still trying to acquaint myself with those facts, but luckily when we saw the President saying what she said and the Prime Minister inviting us yesterday, and I made it clear to the Prime Minister yesterday to say that at least those movements, the message of the President, the Prime Minister inviting us, at least it shows that there is still that commitment. Because the bar has been set very high, especially during President Geinkop's time, because he was a fierce advocate for press freedom, having, of course, also signed into law the Access to Information Act back in 2022 already. So I was telling the Prime Minister yesterday that the bar has been set high, and the new administration may want to just also either be at that level or even go beyond that. Regarding today's event, the Editors Forum, of course, has been part of the groups that have been advocating for, or actually supporting, the idea of inscribing the Windhoek Declaration into the memory of history. Gwen Lister here, my mother, has been part of that history. Everybody's talking about 1991. That is the historic occasion when Windhoek became the birthplace of what is now known as the World Press Freedom Day, because it was her and her peers at the time. Of course, in 1991 I was born, I must just clarify. But it was really just African journalists who sat down and made some commitments, and there were successive efforts over the years until the UN, is it the UN that eventually recognized and adopted this day as World Press Freedom Day. So Windhoek being the birthplace of that, it's such a huge thing for us as an industry and as a country that is relatively very small economically and population-wise. I just want to also mention, I see that my brother, the media ombudsman, Dr. Shiomeka, is here. What we are planning to do very soon at the Editors Forum is we have a very awkward situation at the moment where Dr. Shiomeka there, the media ombudsman, cannot, I suppose legally, summon a journalist against whom a complaint has been filed with the media ombudsman if that journalist works for an institution that is not, for a media house that is not a member of the Editors Forum of Namibia. In other words, if you are not a member of the forum, if your organization, your media house is not a member of the forum, theoretically it means you can do as you wish. You can trample upon the media code of ethics and conduct, and that is a huge anomaly that we are trying now to correct, to say it doesn't matter whether you're a member of the forum or not, but going forward you have to be accountable for your work, be able to subject yourself to that scrutiny if a complaint is raised against you. So it is one of the things that we are going to rectify during our time in office. I mean, we are having awards coming up in early June, the Journalism Awards organized by the EFN, the Editors Forum, and we are also saying this will be the last time that the journalists from non-EFN member houses will be allowed to participate in those awards, because if you're not willing to subject yourself to the processes of accountability, but when these processes of awards and some prize money to be won, then you put up your hand, we think it's a bit unfair. So this is the last time we are allowing that. Going forward, we will only allow people who are able to subject themselves to that accountability process by being members of the EFN. Or even if we now say, look, you don't have to be a member of the EFN, but we have changed that provision that says even non-members must appear before Dr. Shiomeka there and account. In conclusion, really, there is a Congolese journalist who said, of course, he was commenting about the situation in Eastern DRC at the moment. I mean, and of course, elsewhere where there are a lot of troubles, where he said that taking out a camera is as dangerous as taking out a gun in some of those countries. So our thoughts are with those. We are in complete solidarity with our fellow journalists who do not have the privilege of working in an environment like the one we have in Namibia. So we don't take, again, for granted the freedoms that we have here, because others do not have the privilege of just really doing their job without being shot or thrown in jail for merely asking a question to a leader or stuff like that. So we must, in conclusion, really, we must strive as an industry. I mean, to the journalists in the room. When the president spoke in her Press Freedom Day message, while she was talking about upholding or reaffirming the government's commitment towards upholding press freedom, she also made a very cardinal call to us to say that we must also come to the party. We must do our work ethically. We must do our work objectively. We must report what is true. And the message of the president coincides completely. It aligns completely with what we editors in the newsrooms are calling our journalists to do, including ourselves, of course. So ethical journalism is what we want to do ourselves. Reporting facts as they are is what we want to do ourselves. So it's not like the president is instructing us and telling us something that is alien to us. Her message completely aligns with our own aspirations. So let's heed that call. It's a difficult time with all the fake news and deep fakes and all these kind of things. And we must distinguish ourselves from those naughty boys who do those things. We are professionals, we are mainstream, and we must show that we are nothing like what we see on those platforms. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Njebela, Chairperson of the Editors Forum, for just also telling the nation and putting it out there that we as journalists do not just operate in a vacuum. We are actually guided by ethics, and we should try by all means to tell our stories and be as ethical as possible in the process. Thank you so much. 1991 was that year, and we would like to trace the footprints of the Windhoek Declaration, and as he said, that year African journalists sat here in Namibia, Windhoek, to actually, fight for the freedom of expression, freedom of press, or press freedom, or media freedom now, because then there was more press, printing of papers and stuff. Now we should just generalize it and call it media freedom, so that we include everyone, your social media, your TikTok, since we have a lot of community journalists now also. Everybody is now a journalist, but the Editors Forum, as Mr. Njebela said, and the Ombudsman, try by all means to also keep us accountable. When we say something and somebody complains, we also need now to be held accountable to what we report on and what we say on our social media platforms and our newspapers and televisions. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Let us now trace the footprint of the Windhoek Declaration. And I would like to, before I call to the podium, this actually remains Namibia's most significant contribution to the global diplomatic discourse. As Mr. Njebela mentioned, when African good journalists gathered in Namibia and adopted this historic Windhoek Declaration. I do not want to go into details of what happened. I also just learned it. I wasn't there. Let's welcome to the podium Ms. Gwen Lister. She's the chairperson of the Namibia Media Trust Media Foundation Board of Directors. She will then take us through, because she was there, she was present. Ladies and gentlemen, hand of applause, please.
Thank you very much. And if I may, all protocol observed, just to save us on time. Before I start, I'd like to just acknowledge briefly the small exhibition that you see out there, that the staff of the NMT Media Foundation, I know officials from the Brumilde, from the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, our Finnish embassy colleagues, managed to get a few things together just to commemorate this day. And one of the things, we're in the archives, that has been very difficult is actually, because at the time we met to adopt the Windhoek Declaration, we really didn't know that this day would become so significant, not only to Namibia, but to the world. And very few people, I know that at the Namibian, I was battling to pay salaries, running backwards and forwards from the office, trying to chair this seminar as well. And we just didn't do as much coverage of this seminar as we should have done. So we need to reach out to our colleagues in Africa who all attended this seminar and really try and get some more archival material together to remember that very significant day. So thanks to all of the above for putting this together at very late notice. The 1991 Windhoek Declaration turned things around for the press in Africa. In its wake, slowly but surely, as the continent emerged from a largely unfree environment in which independent press was either disallowed or at best barely tolerated by governments, the scenario began to change. Back in the 1980s, there were only a handful of pioneering journalists who risked life and limb to exercise their freedom of speech and expression, to give voice to the people, and to speak truth to power, and who paved the way for the UNESCO seminar, which took place in the dying throes of the Cold War, and which gave birth to a groundbreaking document which had global impact. It must be remembered, I think, that the Declaration was adopted by primarily print journalists in the pre-internet era of scant rights and freedoms for both people and press alike. A time when citizens on this continent were largely voiceless, and when newspapers and radio, and to a lesser extent television, mostly under the stringent control of governments, and this constituted the media environment back then. In the immediate years following the Windhoek Declaration, Africa's landscape slowly opened up to broader acceptance and realization of the rights to free expression and press freedom, and private outlets began to flourish. 35 years on, the raison d'etre of these rights are seldom questioned, although dark forces intent on aborting these gains are ever with us. Not only did the Windhoek Declaration positively impact Africa's press freedom environment, but it also set the trend further afield towards ensuring the recognition of press freedom as essential to democracy and economic development. Its footprints have been felt far and wide, from Sofia in Bulgaria to the Declaration of Alma-Ata in Kazakhstan and Sanaa in Yemen. The world's journalists affirmed that a free press is essential for democracy and economic development. And in honor, as you all know, of the Declaration and the importance of press freedom, the UN General Assembly in 1993 designated May 3 as World Press Freedom Day. Africa, and most notably Namibia in this context, has a proud history of being consistently in the forefront of campaigns for free speech, freedom of expression, and access to information. And just some of those that I may mention include, of course, the Windhoek Declaration demanding a free, independent, and pluralistic press, the Charter on African Broadcasting, which opened up the airwaves 10 years later, the Windhoek Plus 30 conference, which affirmed these principles in a digital era, and the African Platform on Access to Information, which spearheaded the movement to ensure the adoption of access to information laws across the continent. The fundamental principles of the Windhoek Declaration, such as the call for a media independent of government, political, or economic control, a call for an end to monopolies and for media pluralism, and a call to ensure the safety of journalists, among others, still ring true today. It is important to re-emphasize that Namibia, which was selected as the host country for the 1991 UNESCO seminar, which crafted the declaration, was because of the newly independent country's constitutional affirmation of democracy and press freedom. And Namibia led the way then and can continue to do so in 2026 and beyond, as we continue to have a special role to play in the maintenance of these freedoms worldwide. Press freedom and free expression has always and will continue to be a battle that is never fully won. Characterized by some as a one-step forward, two-step back approach, progress is too often followed by setbacks, both here and further afield. Consistent vigilance, activism, and advocacy, and not least of all, a renewed commitment, as Toivo has mentioned, to excellence in journalism is required to fully realize the goals of the Windhoek Declaration. This is becoming increasingly difficult in a world in which the press fights for sustainability, where toxicity and AI-fueled disinformation thrives online, consumed, unfortunately, by an often confused and gullible audience, where anti-rights forces continue to try and turn back the tide to draconian times we would prefer not to live through again. Journalists continue to be killed simply for doing their work, most notably in Palestine, where approximately 300 have died since October 2023, a huge number, according to both the United Nations and the Committee to Protect Journalists, and many of these died in targeted attacks by Israel. And on our subcontinent, the recent cancellation by the Zambian government of the RightsCon 2026, scheduled for May 5 in Lusaka, the world's leading summit on human rights in a digital era, which included, I might add, hundreds of human rights defenders, journalists, technologists, and civil society actors from across the world, is another unfortunate sign of ongoing attempts to suppress free expression. In the words of Zoe Titus, the director of the NMT Media Foundation, who is with us here today, this is a press freedom issue and must be named as such. President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, in her World Press Freedom Day address, emphasized that press freedom is not merely a media issue, but a democratic imperative. In a time of the erosion of these rights, I might add, exacerbated by the toxic and trashy content which is prevalent on social media, the buy-in of all governments and citizens is essential to ensure the survival and longevity of good journalism, which, again in the words of our president, is, and I quote, central to the protection of human rights, advancement of development, and the preservation of peace and security. In addition, the World Press Freedom Day statement by the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology makes mention that, and again I quote, Namibia positions itself not only as a regional beacon, but as a trusted and global partner committed to openness, stability, and democratic integrity. My call is for us to do just that. Given our history, Namibia has a special commitment to the maintenance of press freedom. With the above-mentioned spoken pledges by our President and the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, I would therefore urge our government not only to fiercely protect our country's hard-won rights, but also to put its money where its mouth is and grasp the chance to become a real role model in taking concrete actions that empower information as a public good and to speak out against violations of free speech and expression on our continent and wherever else they may occur. While Namibia remains a forerunner at number 2, as has been pointed out, in the Reporters Sans Frontières African Press Freedom Rankings, our own media environment is not completely problem-free. Among others, we do need to protect journalists from legal and digital harassment and to ensure transparency in government advertising. The delays to the implementation of the Access to Information Act, signed into law, as Toivo said, by late President Hage Geingob in 2022, remain problematic, and it is important that government operationalize this as a matter of urgency. Access to information, often described as the mother of all rights, is necessary for the empowerment of citizens and to strengthen the work of the media. So given the importance of the Windhoek Declaration, its inclusion in the UNESCO Memory of the World Register is absolutely appropriate. In the ceremony marking this milestone in Brussels last year, I said the following: as we fast forward from the adoption of the Declaration in 1991 to the present day, it is apparent that another massive global challenge awaits us to combat new and formidable threats to journalism. free expression and press freedom in the information space, and to once again take up the fight, which would include the pursuit of excellence in our craft. It is the only way to truly ensure that we do indeed shape a future of peace, and that the legacy and energy of the Windhoek Declaration lives on. Fast forward from 1991, when Namibia gave the world the Windhoek Declaration, its ethos, complemented by those progressive steps that followed in its wake, have left our country and the world with big shoes to fill. What we celebrate today, in lieu of May 3, is not only history, but a responsibility that we have yet to fulfill. The question now facing us in 2026 is whether Namibia will lead again in defending press freedom in these challenging times. On that note, I thank you all. Thank you. Just popped off, yeah.
Yes, thank you. Wow, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, Namibia, therefore, occupies a special place in the global media history, and there's not much to add on that. Thank you so much, Ms. Lister, for that insightful reflection on the legacy and global influence of the Windhoek Declaration as you took us back and tracing the huge and giant footprints of the Windhoek Declaration. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to appreciate and for us to give a big thank you to UNESCO, to NATCOM, to the European Union, to the Embassy of Finland here in Windhoek, to the Namibia, or the Editors Forum of Namibia, and the Namibia Media Trust, the Namibian Broadcasting Corporation, the University of Namibia, the National Library and Archives Services, the Deutsche Welle Academy, for actually making sure and actually yes, making sure that we are seated here today and we are holding this event. Please, let's clap for them. Up next on our program, I would like to call to the podium Her Excellency Anna Beatrice Martens, Ambassador of the European Union to Namibia, to deliver her remarks. Please, let's welcome her to the podium.
Thank you so much, Master of Ceremony. So, good morning, everybody. I would also like to stand on protocol, but acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Dr. Sanet Steenkamp, Minister of Education, Innovation, Youth, Sports, Arts and Culture, and Honorable Wenzel Kavaka, Deputy Minister of Information and Communication Technology, and the other distinguished members of the panel. Big group of distinguished members of the panel. It's my great pleasure and honor to be here, in fact, to be part of the high table and to be able to address you here on this historic day, a day of pride for Namibians, but also for the international community, including Europe, and a very warm congratulations to Namibia for this historic handover of the Windhoek Declaration to the UNESCO Register. It's a hugely important event. Today is actually also the day before Europe Day. Tomorrow is our Europe Day on the 9th of May, which is celebrated to recall us of fundamental values of democracy, human rights, and the rule of law that underpin the construction, the history of Europe. At the heart of these values lies press freedom. So, in fact, press freedom is also a strong value that we cherish and need to work on daily. A free and independent media is essential for fostering open, informed, and resilient societies, both in Europe and around the world. Democracy cannot exist without a free press. Independent and pluralistic media are not a luxury. They are a cornerstone of democratic societies and a fundamental human right that we must continue to uphold together. And we just heard the powerful words of Gwen Lister. that this is a constant struggle, and as you said so rightly, press freedom is never achieved. It is therefore especially meaningful that we gather here today in a country that has helped shape the very foundations of global press freedom. Namibia is a global standard setter where the Windhoek Declaration was adopted in 1991. It remains one of the most important contributions to international principles on press freedom. Its inscription in the UNESCO Memory of the World recognizes this legacy. Ladies and gentlemen, Namibia's leadership is not only historic, it is also reflected today. Ranking 23rd globally in press freedom and second in Africa, Namibia stands as a powerful example of how the principle of the Windhoek Declaration can be translated into practice. This achievement is not only a national success, it is a contribution to the global defense of democratic values and a source of inspiration. And as we see here by the high presence at the high table, as well as remarks made by President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, Namibia is acutely aware of its responsibility to continue with bold actions to safeguard a free, independent, and resilient media sector, and to remain an inspiration and hope for other countries in Africa and other continents as well. Toven Jimbela, I'm glad that you mentioned the Access to Information Act, which was the adoption of it in 2022, I think was a landmark as well. And the next landmark and inspiration will surely be the enforcement of the Access to Information Act and the appointment of an information commissioner, which will be significant steps in boosting transparency and strengthening Namibia's press freedom credentials. The media landscape faces numerous challenges, financial constraints affecting the sustainability of independent outlets, risks of outside pressure, and a rapidly evolving information environment marked by disinformation and online harassment of journalists. Globally, the situation is becoming increasingly challenging. Across the world, journalists face growing threats, violence, harassment, arbitrary detention, and intimidation. Women journalists are disproportionately targeted, often facing gender-based violence. The past year has been one of the deadliest on record for journalists. More than 60 journalists were killed in 2025, with a majority linked to conflict situations and targeted killings, especially in Gaza, but also in Sudan and Ukraine. This is unacceptable. Journalists must be able to carry out their work freely, without fear of violence, persecution, or retaliation. At the same time, the right to information is under pressure. Legal and economic threats foster self-censorship and shrinking civil space. When independent media is weakened, citizens become more vulnerable to disinformation, propaganda, and manipulation. The digital transformation has intensified these challenges. While AI is a powerful tool to support media, it has also accelerated the spread of disinformation and misleading content. In this evolving landscape, the role of independent, credible journalists is more essential than ever. Ladies and gentlemen, to address these challenges, we must work together. The partnership between the European Union and Namibia is grounded in shared commitment to defending democracy and the rules-based international order, with the UN at its center. We work as equals, supporting one another and advancing a common vision of open democratic societies. This shared commitment is also reflected by our member states, where Finland plays a leading global role as co-chair of the Media Freedom Coalition. Since July of last year, Finland has been advancing a 2-year agenda focused on protecting journalists, strengthening media literacy, and defending press freedom. This leadership underscores our strong conviction that media freedom is a cornerstone of democracy. The European Union remains firmly committed to defending free, independent, and pluralistic media, both at home and around the world. We do so in partnership, including with Namibia, recognizing that sustainable progress depends on shared ownership and mutual trust. In Namibia, we work together with organizations such as the Namibia Media Trust, the Institute for Public Policy Research, and the Deutsche Welle to support media development and foster inclusive, evidence-based public debate through initiatives such as the Echo Dialogue Collective, which is a training program for journalists. Globally, we work with UNESCO, the European Endowment for Democracy, the Council of Europe, and the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe to strengthen legal frameworks, enhance media resilience, and promote access to reliable information. But ultimately, defending press freedom is not only about policies or programs. It is about people. It is about the journalists who report from the front lines, who expose injustices, and who ensure that truth reaches the public, even in the most difficult circumstances. So our message today is clear. We stand together defending free, independent, and pluralistic media. We stand together in protecting journalists and ending impunity. And we stand together in safeguarding the right of every citizen to access reliable information. Because press freedom is not a regional value, it is a universal one. And it is our shared responsibility to protect it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your continued, or for that speech and continued support from the European Union on the democratic governance, media development, as well as freedom of expression. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, UNESCO remains one of those strongest global advocates for press freedom and journalist safety and access to information, and they have been really working with especially the Ministry of Information in making sure that we fight for that freedom of expression and freedom of the media. And let me just mention something that we have also been working with UNESCO in putting together a policy to assist community media, so that they also, you know, from grassroots, we are able to tell our stories, and they have really, really been involved in this. And that policy will be launched soon. I do not want to preempt anything, so just watch that space. I would like to call to the podium Ms. Eunice Smith, Head of Office and UNESCO representative to Namibia, to deliver her remarks. Let's welcome her, please.
Thank you, Madam Director of Ceremonies. Good morning, members of the head table. I would like to stand on the protocol that has been established. But having said that, Madam Minister, I also would like to recognize Finland, simply because while we were discussing with the Ministry of Information and Communication Technologies and other partners about organizing something for World Press Freedom Day, we got a visit from Finland saying, what can we do? So it's good that all the partners are here together today. I am really honored to join you to commemorate World Press Freedom Day, which is an opportunity to remind us of the importance of a free, independent, and pluralistic media, and that freedom to express oneself is not only a human right, but the cornerstone of democratic societies, sustainable development, and necessary for lasting peace. This year's World Press Freedom Day global theme, which is on the banners, Shaping a Future at Peace, calls on us to reflect on the essential role of journalism in building societies that are informed, resilient, and united. In a world which is increasingly shaped by conflict, misinformation, and rapid technological change, the value of credible, independent journalism has never been greater. Where journalism thrives, and I think Gwen Lister also said so, societies are better equipped to prevent conflict, strengthen accountability, and foster trust. Where it is weakened, the consequences are profound. Polarization deepens, misinformation spreads, and democratic institutions are undermined. According to UNESCO's Global Trends report, freedom of expression has declined significantly over the past decade, with rising pressure on media, increasing self-censorship, and persistent threats to journalist safety. At the same time, as we have heard from Ambassador Martins, digital transformation and artificial intelligence are reshaping information ecosystems at an unprecedented pace, bringing both opportunities and risks for media independence, information integrity, and undermining public trust. It is within this global context that Namibia continues to stand out as a beacon of press freedom. As reported, and as has been said by other speakers, Namibia proudly ranks second in Africa and 23rd globally for press freedom. This achievement stands as a testament not only to strong legal protections, but also to a sustained national commitment to democratic values, transparency, and the rule of law. However, this recognition carries responsibilities. It cannot be taken for granted. It calls on all of us, including government, media houses, civil society, development partners, and citizens to safeguard and further strengthen this space for free expression. Namibia's leadership in press freedom is deeply rooted in history. We just heard from Gwen Lister, who walked through the entire process of what happened in 1991, when African journalists adopted the Windhoek Declaration, which at the time they were not thinking about it, but has now become a landmark document which affirms the principles of a free, independent, and pluralistic media. The Windhoek Declaration not only shaped the media landscape across Africa, but around the world, and has led to the establishment, or the declaration by the United Nations General Assembly in 1993, I think it was, of World Press Freedom Day, which we're celebrating today. In 2021, UNESCO, in partnership with the government of Namibia, once again brought together the international community here in Windhoek for World Press Freedom Day Global Conference to mark 30 years since the original Windhoek Declaration. During that conference, the Windhoek Plus 30 Declaration on Information as a Public Good was adopted, reaffirming its essential role in empowering citizens, strengthening democratic governance, and advancing sustainable development. This is particularly critical in today's digital age, where information ecosystems are increasingly shaped by algorithms, artificial intelligence, and digital platforms. Today, we celebrate the new milestone in Namibia's history, the inscription of the Windhoek Declaration into UNESCO's Memory of the World Register. This recognition affirms the global significance and ensures that the principles of the Declaration will be preserved for future generations. We are especially proud that this historic document will not only be officially handed over to the National Archives, where it will be safeguarded as a part of the nation's documentary history. This is more than just a symbolic act. It is a reaffirmation of Namibia's role at the heart of the global press freedom movement, and a reminder that the principles of free, independent, and pluralistic press, which was established in Windhoek, continues to guide us today. Building on this legacy, which began here in 1991, UNESCO continues to work closely with national stakeholders to strengthen media freedom and access to information in the country. Key milestones, such as the adoption of the Access to Information Act 8 of 2022, which enhances transparency and supports investigative journalism, was one of those areas in which UNESCO supports. We are also, and as mentioned by Madam Director of Ceremonies, we also warmly welcome Cabinet's approval in principle of the community media policy for 2026 to 2030 and the information plan. On behalf of UNESCO, Madam Minister, we would like to congratulate the ministry, the government of the Republic of Namibia on taking this step. And we would also like to congratulate the Ministry of Information and Communication Technologies for their work on this important achievement. These frameworks, which include the Community Media Code of Practice, are essential for ensuring that all citizens, including those in underserved communities, have access to reliable information and opportunities to participate in public discourse. Ladies and gentlemen, this year's global celebration of World Press Freedom Day is currently underway in Lusaka, Zambia, and places strong emphasis on 3 areas that remain highly relevant to our work in Namibia, across the region, and globally. 1, the role of press freedom in promoting peace, security, and sustainable development. 2, the impact of digital transformation and artificial intelligence on information integrity. And 3, the need for viable, pluralistic, and inclusive media systems. These are not isolated themes. They are deeply interconnected and require coordinated action across all sectors, from policymakers and journalists to technologists and civil societies. As we look forward to the future, it is clear that protecting journalists and media personnel remains central to protecting democracy itself. While Namibia remains a relatively safe environment for media practitioners, challenges persist globally, including impunity for crimes against journalists, economic pressures on independent media, and the rise of online harassment, which disproportionately targets female journalists. These pressures also intersect with longer-standing structural inequalities in media institutions, where women remain underrepresented in senior editorial and decision-making roles. Addressing these challenges requires sustained commitment strong institutions, and stakeholder collaboration. In this regard, UNESCO remains committed to supporting member states, including Namibia, in strengthening legal frameworks, enhancing media and information literacy, promoting journalist safety, and enhancing ethical, human rights-based digital governance. Through partnerships and collective actions, we can ensure that information continues to serve as a public good, one that empowers citizens, strengthens institutions, and contributes to peace. In closing, please allow me to commend again the government of the Republic of Namibia, the media fraternity, and all partners for their continued dedication to upholding press freedom. I also want to pay tribute to the journalists across this country who work tirelessly, often under challenging circumstances, to inform, educate, and hold power to account. As we commemorate this important day, let us remember a free press is not merely a pillar of democracy. It is a foundation for peace, for ensuring sustainable development, and respect for human rights. Let us continue to uphold the spirit of the Windhoek Declaration, ensuring that all its principles remain alive, not only in our archives, but in our actions. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ms. Smith, Head of Office, UNESCO representative to Namibia, for your valuable remarks and for UNESCO's continued partnership as well as support in media development here in Namibia. Thank you so much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are taking a short pause for a video presentation, and I would like to ask the high table just to move for visibility purposes, just to move to these chairs so that we watch the video. While they're doing that, the video actually is a reflection of the history, the impact and the significance of the Windhoek Declaration inscription into the memory of the World Register. As soon as the high table is settled, we can play the video.
It was exactly on the 9th of November, 1989, and exactly that day happened something unbelievable, the fall of the Berlin Wall. Big professional media organizations challenged me, and in fact I was new at UNESCO. I just arrived in Paris a few months, more precisely, a few months before the general conference, and they challenged me and they said, Alan, now the UNESCO has a new communication policy. Are you ready to organize a meeting with journalists from Eastern Europe who fought against their own government, who are not part of the party or the state media, and even some of them were in the underground press, working for the underground press. I said, well, I take up the challenge. And it was a very strange meeting because for the first time we had at UNESCO a group of people who were, let's call it, not the friends of, not to say enemy, but not the friends of the governments. And the Director General decided to make available the room where normally the Executive Board of UNESCO is meeting. It's a big circle, and you had all the journalists on the seats in front and behind the diplomatic representatives. The diplomats, it was very moving and very emotional, of course. The journalists gave very interesting testimonies about their daily life. So at the end, African diplomats came to me and said, but Mr. Madu, it was fantastic, this meeting. Do you think that democracy is just for the Europeans, or do you think that we can have it in Africa? It would be appropriate to have such a meeting in Africa. I said, well, yes, I'm ready to submit the idea to the Director General, Mr. Mayor, and we will organize it. And this is how it started.
When I received the invitation, the theme, Seminar on Promoting an Independent and Pluralistic African Press, sounded very exciting to me because especially at that time in Africa and in Ghana, the press operated in quite a hostile environment.
It was a great honor for me to chair the UNESCO seminar in 1991, which eventually culminated in the adoption of the Windhoek Declaration. And especially given the presence of so many brave journalists from across the continent who attended that seminar, many of whom, or not many, but several of whom had been released from jails to attend this seminar. And of course, I think it's important to emphasize that the seminar took place just after Namibian independence and at the end of the Cold War, when Namibia, I think, was being recognized by the fact that UNESCO chose Namibia to hold the seminar here for one of the first African constitutions that guaranteed a free press.
Later in the year 1991, UNESCO's General Conference endorsed the declaration, and in 1993, the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed 3 May as World Press Freedom Day.
Yeah, we are here gathered today to commemorate the World Press Freedom Day, which is annually observed on the 3rd of May. On this occasion, we join the global community in celebrating this important day under the theme, Shaping a Future at Peace. From the onset, allow me to express my immeasurable pride I carry it in my heart as I stand before you today. Namibia maintained its second place ranking as Africa's top freest press country as announced by the Reporter Without Border, and 23rd globally out of 180 countries. Let each one of us take our flower and tap on our shoulder for a job well done. This year's commemoration is particularly significant for Namibia as we celebrate 3 important milestones: 35 years of Windhoek Declaration, 5 years of Windhoek plus 30 Declaration, and the inspiration of the Windhoek Declaration into UNESCO Memory of the World Register. Those milestones reaffirm Namibia's historic and continued contribution to the advancement of press freedom globally. Ladies and gentlemen, our gathering here today underscores Namibia's ensuring commitment to maintain a free, independent, and pluralistic media environment. the Windhoek Declaration adopted in 1991 remains a cornerstone in promoting media freedom worldwide. Its recognition by UNESCO is not only a source of national pride, but also a reminder of our responsibility to safeguard and advance the principles it embodies. Namibia has consistently been recognized as one of the leading countries in Africa and globally in terms of press freedom. This achievement is not accidental, but the result of deliberate effort by the government to create and sustain an enabling environment in which media practitioners can operate freely, safely, and without undue interference. Our Constitution guarantees freedom of expression, including freedom of the press, and these remain the foundation upon which our democratic society is built. As government, we remain committed to ensuring that journalists and the media practitioners are able to carry out their work without fear and intimidation. As a free media is essential for promoting transparency, accountability, and global governance, it empowers citizens with information, enabling them to participate meaningfully in national development and democratic processes. Ladies and gentlemen, 5 years ago, Windhoek had an honor of hosting the global commemoration of the World Press Freedom Day, which culminated in the adoption of the Windhoek +30 Declaration. This landmark declaration reaffirmed the powerful principle that information is a public good, essential for sustainable development, democracy, and peace. We are reflecting this milestone. We are reminded of our enduring words of Thomas Jefferson, who stated that, I quote, "Information is a currency of democracy," unquote. Those words resonate when more strongly today, underscoring the critical role and importance of access to information legislation in promoting transparency, accountability, and public participation, as well as ensuring timely, credible, and inclusive information that empowers citizens and strengthens democratic society. In line with this year's theme, we recognize the crucial role that the media play in fostering peace, dialogue, and social cohesion. An independent, credible, and ethical media contributes significantly to conflict prevention and nation building. It is therefore important that media continue to uphold the value of truth, integrity, and professionalism in the dissemination of information. At the same time, we must acknowledge the evolving challenges within the media landscape, particularly in a digital era. The rise of misinformation and disinformation poses a serious threat to social cohesion and democratic stability. Such as, the government is committed to promoting media and information literacy, as well as reasonable use of social media, to ensure that information shared within our society is accurate, credible, and constructive. Directors of ceremony, the government of the Republic of Namibia has taken a significant step to promote media pluralism and access to information. The recent approval of a community media policy by Cabinet is a testament that our commitment to ensure that all Namibia, including those in remote area and underserviced area, have access to information in languages and format they understand. This policy will enhance inclusivity and strengthen community participation and support sustainability of community media. Furthermore, we continue to strengthen collaboration with key stakeholders, including media institutions, civil society, and international partners. Those partnerships are essential in building capacity, promoting professional standard, and supporting initiatives that advance press freedom and media development in Namibia. Ladies and gentlemen, as we enjoy those freedoms, we must also be mindful of the responsibility that come with them. Freedom of expression must be exercised in a manner that respects the right and dignity of others. Ethical journalism and responsible communication are essential in maintaining public trust and safeguarding the integrity of the media sectors. As we commemorate the World Press Freedom Day, we also pay tribute to journalists around the world who continue to serve society with dedication and courage. Their work is vital in ensuring that the truth prevail and that voices of our people are heard. The inception of the Windhoek Declaration into the UNESCO Memory of the World Register carries profound meaning for Namibia and the global community. It recognizes the declaration as a documentary heritage of outstanding universal value, one that has shaped the global agenda on press freedom and media pluralism. The inscription reaffirms Namibia's historic role as champion of free, independent, and pluralistic media, while placing a responsibility on us to preserve and promote those principles for future generations. It serves as a reminder that press freedom is not only a national achievement, but a global responsibility that must be continuously protected, strengthened, and advanced in an ever-evolving information landscape. In conclusion, we wish to recognize and honor one of the enduring and founding member and pioneer of the Windhoek Declaration, whose courage and unwavering commitment to press freedom helped shape the principle we celebrate today. This is none other than Namibia veteran journalist and chairperson of NMT Media Foundation Board of Director, Gwen List. Let her contribution alongside that of many others lay the foundation for the global recognition of the World Press Freedom Day. As we reflect this legacy, let's remain steadfast in upholding the value of free, independent, and pluralistic media and continue to build on the vision that has positioned Namibia at the forefront of a press freedom worldwide. Let us continue to work together, government, development partner, media, civil society, and citizens to shape the future rooted in peace, mutual respect, and shared responsibility. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kavaka. A round of applause again for Honorable Kavaka, please. Indeed, media freedom thrives where there is commitment to openness, accountability, and democratic participation. And here in Namibia, we enjoy that freedom, operating without fear and intimidation, and also doing so, respecting others' rights and dignity as we do our work. Thank you so much, Honorable Deputy Minister. And now, ladies and gentlemen, join me as I welcome to the podium and invite Honorable Dr. Sanet Steenkamp. She is the Minister of Education, Innovation, Youth, Sports, Arts and Culture. It's a long one. We call it MESAC, to deliver her keynote address.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Director of Ceremonies. Regrettably for the keynote speaker, why is it always the case that we have to go through the whole salutation? But first and foremost, let me say a lovely good morning to all of you. No, that was lukewarm. It's a beautiful day, and we are alive and we are well. Esteemed Honorable Wenzel Kavaka, Deputy Minister of Information and Communication Technology, Her Excellency Anna Beatrice Martins, the EU Ambassador to Namibia and the delegation, Ms. Eunice Smith, Head of Office and UNESCO Representative to Namibia, Ms. Gwen Lister, the Chairperson of the Namibia Media Trust Foundation Board of Directors, Mr. Toivo Njabela, the Editors Forum of Namibia, members of the Diplomatic Corps, I'm very delighted to have Your Excellency present, Mr. Neil Bradley, thank you very much for joining us, all key representatives of the media, and especially the group sitting there right behind the scenes, but making sure that everything goes so well. Our Ombudsman of the Media, Doctor, thank you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, once again, what a delight for me to join you this morning to commemorate World Press Freedom Day 2026. I know it was already celebrated on the 3rd of May, but it's observed under the global theme, Shaping a Future at Peace, Promoting Press Freedom for Human Rights, Development and Security. I think in particular for Namibia, this day holds particular significance as it marks the 35th anniversary of the Windhoek Declaration on promoting an independent and pluralistic African press, equally the 5th anniversary of the Windhoek Plus 30 Declaration, and the 2025 inscription of the Windhoek Declaration in the UNESCO Memory of the World Register. And if you would allow me, already our Deputy Minister Kavaka went into great length and detail, pointing out the significance of these to all of us. We cannot ignore, as had been said also by Ms. Smith, the global significance that there is for Namibia and the role that Namibia played. And the inscription of the Windhoek Declaration into the UNESCO Memory of the World Register represents another historic recognition of freedom of expression, independent journalism, and democratic governance as part of humanity's shared heritage. Ladies and gentlemen, those are the things that, as a state, we cannot take for granted. But it also affirms the Windhoek Declaration as a globally influential African contribution to international human rights and media freedom norms. It acknowledges Africa's leadership in shaping democratic discourse and global governance frameworks. We are aware that the inscription reinforces, as has been previously said by all our eloquent and powerful speakers, the universal principle that a free, independent, and pluralistic press is of critical importance. It's essential for democracy, for sustainable development, accountability, and peace. It further recognizes the Declaration's enduring influence on UNESCO's global press freedom agenda. And we thank you for continuously prioritizing that and its direct contribution to the establishment of World Press Freedom Day. Distinguished guest, you will agree with me that Namibia occupies a unique space in this global history. Indeed, as a small country, Namibia is a force to be reckoned with. Can you please give our country a round of applause? For Namibia, this recognition elevates the country's standing as a symbol of democratic transition, constitutionalism, and media freedom. I said before that in this global history, Namibia takes a special place, which actually urges us all to protect press and media freedom with vigilance, integrity, but also with a humility. We are reminded that Namibia's important diplomatic and historic contribution to global democratic values shortly after its independence helps us to strengthen the country's international identity, the soft power and cultural heritage profile, especially with UNESCO and the broader international community. This inscription pays special tribute to the courage that so many of our speakers before me made reference to. The courage, the vision, and the professional integrity of the African journalists and the media advocates who gathered in Windhoek in 1991 to advance the cause of independent journalism. And esteemed ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, as we gather again once more today under the UNESCO banner, may we recommit ourselves to fostering environments within our country and also beyond as other countries, where the media will be allowed to operate freely, with ethical and responsible reporting equally being prioritized, and defending the truth at all costs. Truth is supreme, and truth must be told at all costs. It is just right, ladies and gentlemen, that I take a moment to recognize the very courage and dedication of the journalists, past and present, including the pioneers here present today, such as Ms. Gwen Lister, who were instrumental in the development of the Windhoek Declaration and whose work helped to shape Namibia's media landscape, giving practical meaning to the ideals enshrined in the Declaration. Their contribution is now formally preserved as part of the world's documentary heritage for future generations. Today, I wish to pay special tribute. I think we can do a better omake. Ahage omake. Omake omake. Today, I wish to pay special tribute to Ms. Gwen Lister, whose courage, principled journalism, and her resolve to speak truth to power helped to shape the spirit of this declaration. At a time when speaking truth came at a great personal cost, she and many others chose bravery over silence. We salute you. You reflected a few moments ago, Ms. Lister, how you were still running around with paying salaries, the difficulties that you faced, not just yourself and so many others, speaking up during times when it was intolerable, when it was not allowed, when voices were not appreciated, when agency were not valued, and yet it was done. So Namibia, and indeed the world, we owe gratitude to journalists who continue to serve the public and their countries with integrity, often under the most difficult and dangerous circumstances. Toivo made reference to the Congolese journalists. The EU ambassador made reference to more than 60 journalists who paid with their lives. And Ms. Gwen Lister made reference to the 300 journalists that lost their lives in Palestine alone. Ladies and gentlemen, one life lost is one life too many. It's not about the statistics. It's about the principle of every person who must have that human right. Nobody must lose their life because they have passion and perseverance to do what is right, to perform their job to the best of their abilities. So we stand in solidarity with all journalists who, as Ms. Eunice Smith said, persistently have to guard against the threat to their safety. I also wish to honor, and when I say I, it's government. Government wish to honor all journalists, all editors, photographers, broadcasters, and all storytellers. Do you know that there's a storyteller in all of us? We wish to recognize all storytellers, all those who continuously ask the most difficult and unpopular questions. The questions that makes you sit in discomfort in a chair. Thank you for doing that. With that, you elevate and you capture not just the failures that we sometimes bring forward, but also the hopes and the aspirations and the triumphs of us in a country. And thank you for keeping us in society and government accountable. May you never lose sight of speaking truth to power. May us in any key position, in the executive, in legislature, in the judiciary, may we always strive to keep the faith and keep the oath that we give to serve our country with the required integrity. And that means responding to the most difficult of questions in the most controversial of times. And may you hold us to account. Equally, we wish to state that a nation without press and media freedom runs the danger of losing its memory, its direction, and its conscience. And in Namibia, we are not prepared to lose our conscience, not locally, not on the African continent, and not on a global stage. This Windhoek Declaration, this landmark African achievement, serves as a lasting global symbol. And I just talked about the indispensable role of journalism, of freedom of expression, and democratic memory in advancing the human dignity across the globe and accountability. The issue is accountability. It's not just about the response, our esteemed editor. It's about the quality of the response. It's about the depth of the response to the people, because the people have the right to know. I really wish to say, I think there's no ministry that is not prepared to answer. I have always said since the time when I was an executive director that answer the questions. Let me see. Let there be depth. Let there be truth. Let there be statistics. Because in a time when disinformation and misinformation is so rife, we have to step up and provide the much necessary information and not sleep on the assignment. Ladies and gentlemen, maybe sometimes we don't understand the urgency. Sometimes I'm asked a question, it's posed to me and not to the PRO. The question is posed to me. I'm not with my phone. The question was asked 3 minutes past 11. I'm not with my phone because I don't enter meetings with my phone. I get that message few minutes past 6 in the afternoon. I try to respond, but it's too late. So what we are asking is also follow the channels. And I know our PROs should step up to respond and to reach out to the various directorate, divisions, and departments to get the correct information. And I think that's a pledge I want to make again today, that as a government, we will respond. As a ministry of Maisak, Maithaka in Osheherero, we will respond. I can give you that pledge. So, let me not digress any further, ladies and gentlemen. I wish to appreciate the team that worked so hard, that worked so tirelessly, that sacrificed. You work around the clock to prepare the technical dossiers for the inscription. Do you know that it is no small feat to prepare a dossier? I saw that when we prepared the dossier for the Brandberg. So I know that it is tedious and voluminous work. There's a lot of work. The magnitude of the work is something you can't describe in a few sentences. So it was successfully carried out, ladies and gentlemen, by a dedicated team comprising the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, the Namibian National Commission for UNESCO, the Namibia Media Trust, the Editors Forum of Namibia, the Namibian Library and Archive Service, the Permanent Delegation of Namibia to UNESCO, and of course, and our co-nominator, UNESCO. I equally wish to thank the European Union for their support in media development. I'm also proud to share with you that in addition to the Windhoek Declaration, Namibia has another remarkable entry on the UNESCO Memory of the World Register, namely the Hendrik Witbooi Papers. And these papers, which comprise the diary and the complete correspondence of Captain Hendrik Witbooi, were inscribed in 2005. And together, these two inscriptions really tell a powerful story of continuity from resistance against oppression to the building of a democratic state grounded in rights, accountability, and openness. Distinguished guest, the Namibian government, as has been said before by Deputy Minister, is committed to strengthening the important work of journalism. It is equally committed to strengthening the work of recording and preserving our history and making it accessible to our people. Ms. Namotenia put a strong point across on the importance of archive services and our libraries. And we take great pride in the work carried out by the National Library and Archives of Namibia in safeguarding our nation's documentary heritage for future generations. And as a ministry now, we remain committed to prioritizing programs that will continue to uplift our libraries and archives, recognizing that these institutions are indeed the custodians of our collective memory and vital spaces where knowledge is preserved and where new ideas are cultivated. Namibia further commits to support the work of UNESCO, Memory of the World National Committee, as it continues to identify and advance initiatives for possible inscriptions on the Memory of the World Register. This ensures that Namibia's documentary heritage gains the recognition, but also the protection that it truly deserves. In closing, I wish to extend my gratitude to the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, the Namibian National Commission for UNESCO, and all key partners for this successful organizing of today's event. And my most sincere gratitude to each one of you who've been making the time to be present. Can we do something unorthodox and you just turn to the person on your left or your right, make eye contact and just say, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. May the legacy of the Windhoek Declaration continue to inspire the courage that we all talked about today, the integrity and the ethics we experience and wish to be improved, and the accountability in the media community worldwide. I know Her Excellency made her remarks, and I just want to end by saying, going over the timeless reminder by Nelson Mandela, who says, and I quote, "A critical, independent, and investigative press is the lifeblood of any democracy," unquote. Therefore, it's something that we cannot take for granted. Let's safeguard our democracy jealously, and let's continue to strive to serve our nation, ladies and gentlemen, with dignity, with warmth, and with conviction. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. We appreciate you as well. Thank you once again for strongly reaffirming the government's commitment to media freedom, as well as the government's support to and for our journalists who will be documenting our history. I would also like to further thank those who have been there ever since journalism was born, and to journalists who actually asked those questions, and that one journalist who persistently asked that question just for clarity. Thank you so much. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, I would like us to go back now to our video that we needed to play earlier on. I think the technical glitch has been resolved now. The video, as the high table moves to the chair, I apologize for wasting you, but it's a good exercise as well. We move back to these chairs. The video actually represents or reflects the history and the impact, as well as the significance of the Windhoek Declaration inscription into the UNESCO Memory of the World Register. We are going, or we have been global, now we are cementing it, and we are keeping this, handing it over to the National Archive, so that our grandkids and great-grandkids will come and see our work. And this day, I hope, will also be documented and saved or archived there. We may now watch the video or listen in.
It was exactly on the 9th of November, 1989, and exactly that day happened something unbelievable, the fall of the Berlin Wall. Big professional media organizations challenged me, and in fact I was new at UNESCO. I just arrived in Paris a few months more precisely, a few months before the general conference, and they challenged me and they said, Alan, now the UNESCO has a new communication policy. Are you ready to organize a meeting with journalists from Eastern Europe who fought against their own government, who are not part of the party or the state media, and even some of them were in the underground press, working for the underground press. I said, well, I take up the challenge. And it was a very strange meeting, because for the first time we had at UNESCO a group of people who were, let's call it, not the friends of, not to say enemy, but not the friends of the governments. And the Director General decided to make available the room where normally the Executive Board of UNESCO is meeting. It's a big circle, and you had all the journalists on the seats in front, and behind the diplomatic representatives. The diplomats, it was very moving and very emotional, of course. The journalists gave very interesting testimonies about their daily life. So at the end, African diplomats came to me and said, but Mr. Manu, it was fantastic, this meeting. Do you think that democracy is just for the Europeans, or do you think that we can have it in Africa? It would be appropriate to have such a meeting in Africa. I said, well, yes, I'm ready to submit the idea to the Director General, Mr. Mayor, and we will organize it. And this is how it started.
When I received the invitation, the theme, Seminar on Promoting an Independent and Pluralistic African Press, sounded very exciting to me, because especially at that time in Africa and in Ghana, the press operated in quite a hostile environment.
It was a great honor for me to chair the UNESCO seminar in 1991, which eventually culminated in the adoption of the Windhoek Declaration. And especially given the presence of so many brave journalists from across the continent who attended that seminar, many of whom, or not many, but several of whom had been released from jails to attend this seminar. And of course, I think it's important to emphasize that the seminar took place just after Namibian independence and at the end of the Cold War, when Namibia, I think, was being recognized by the fact that UNESCO chose Namibia to hold the seminar here for one of the first African constitutions that guaranteed a free press.
Later in the year 1991, UNESCO's General Conference endorsed the declaration, and in 1993, the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed 3 May as World Press Freedom Day. Since then, the day provides an opportunity for governments to recommit to ensure the free flow of information and for journalists to reflect on their ethical responsibilities in the face of disinformation and artificial intelligence.
As the host country for the adoption of the Windhoek Declaration, a document that really made waves around the world for free and independent press, being so important for democracy and for economic development, that Namibia can do more to be a role model in Africa. I think many journalists the world over look to Windhoek, look to Namibia to set the example, to set the trend as far as press freedom is concerned. And whereas I think our press freedom atmosphere in Namibia is pretty good, as the rankings would show, that doesn't mean that it's perfect at all. If I think of things like the Access to Information Act, which was something driven by civil society and government finally adopted, that we could have done more. It's not really operational as the situation is at present. And so I think there are various areas, this disinformation tsunami that has swept the world through social media and so on. Namibia can be much more in the forefront of fighting these threats to press freedom. And I think it's important to say that our government, who are very proud of Namibia's standing in the press freedom rankings, can do more to spread the gospel of press freedom to other countries who are not as free as Namibia.
Free media and free press and journalism are cornerstones of democracy, but also for liberal economies. Citizens have the right to be informed. For that, you need free media, you need conditions for media to be able to operate, and therefore we consider that as an important factor, also because media has a role in accountability and giving transparency to information so that citizens can shape up their own opinions. And part of that, of course, is that journalists need to be able to work in comfortable economic conditions as well as for security. And we see across the world that this is increasingly difficult and that journalists at times work under threat or are harassed, which then again compromises at times their ability to report freely, and this has consequences for information that is brought to the public. So it's in our interest, and we all have a role to play, civil society, each society member as well as the state, to protect journalism and to ensure that media remain independent.
The Memory of the World International Register celebrates documentary heritage of world significance from all UNESCO member states. The idea is to draw attention to the need for the preservation of such documentary heritage. And by documentary heritage, we simply mean documents that are so important that if lost, they would represent an impoverishment of human culture. That is what is meant by documentary heritage.
On 7 May 2025, the declaration was officially inscribed in UNESCO's International Register of the Memory of the World. This foundational text for press freedom now joins other major historical documents such as the Geneva Conventions and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in the Memory of the World Register.
The significance, in my view, cannot be overstated, really, because it's become a global document, so it's become globally recognized that it is an important right. Also, it is a landmark document that has been introduced by Africa, by the African continent, and Namibia taking leadership on that, and taking that into the global space as a recognized important right. And but it's also a testament to the importance of Namibia in playing a role in defending independent journalism there and setting standards that are recognized globally. So it's an important document, and Namibia is rightly proud and rightly ensuring that it is protected.
I think it's really a great honor, actually, for the Windhoek Declaration. I think when most of us gathered in 1991, we did not realize by adopting the Windhoek Declaration for a free, independent, and pluralistic African press that it would have such resonance the world over. I mean, not long after that, it was often a case of a one step forward, two steps back approach by governments on the continent who didn't particularly like the idea of free and independent press. Obviously, we had been emerging from a draconian era where, among others, the apartheid government in South Africa had pretty much silenced the media in the southern part of the continent. Further afield, there were one-party governments that likewise did not like free and independent media. So I think it took some time for governments across the continent to adapt to a new order as far as press freedom was concerned, always remembering that press freedom is not about the journalists themselves, but about the people that they want to inform.
It is Africa's gift to the world. Second, it is the voice, the collective voice of Africa on freedom of expression as a cornerstone of media independence. Third point for me, it reflects the fact that the African community is part of the larger global community and has a voice within, that community. And lastly, well, I think that the Windhoek Declaration is simply about Namibia and its nationhood, especially as a new nation then taking on such a huge responsibility. This ought to be celebrated.
Namibian Broadcasting Corporation and the European Union for putting together that short and precise but very powerful video as they give us a short and brief history of the Windhoek Declaration. Thank you so much. Again, let's clap for them, please. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived to the highlight of today's program, the official handover of the Windhoek Declaration certificate of inscription into the memory of the World Register. I would like to call to the front the Honorable Minister of Education of Maysak and our Deputy Minister of ICT, as well as Ms. Hamwalwa from the Namibia Library and Archive Services just to do us the honor. This is what is going to happen. So, let me just briefly say what is going to happen because I can't lift up the mic from here. So the Honorable Dr. Senet Steenkamp will then hand over the certificate to the Deputy Minister of ICT, who will hand it over to Ms. Hamwarwa for safekeeping and preservation. So that is what is going to happen now.
Speeches were done and said. We are extremely proud to be handing over this to the Ministry of Information, who will then eventually make sure that it is captured and safeguarded in our national archives after the handing over. Thank you very much to everyone who played a key role. It says, the Declaration of Windhoek on promoting an independent and pluralistic African press. It's the same message. Can I continue to read? Declaration of United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, certifies the inscription of Declaration of Windhoek on promoting an independent and pluralistic African press, 1991. Namibia National Commission for UNESCO, Windhoek, Namibia, on the memory of the World International Register, dated the 17th of April, 2025, and signed by the then Director General of UNESCO. Now officially handing this over. He will hand it over then, of course, our Deputy Minister to our Deputy Director, and there comes a directive that this must be framed, of course digitized first, and then framed in a much bigger frame where it can be clearly appreciated by everyone entering the premises. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we are handing this over to you. And please, you heard that it must be made into something big and it should be visible. This one you are going to safekeep it, but you must do something that is very big and it should be also be displayed. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Ministers. We are taking this with honor, and we will keep it at the National Archives of Namibia, where we have the first inscription of Hendrik Bedboy. As indicated by the Honorable Minister, we will digitize it, and then we'll make it look bigger. Thank you so much.
And this is the declaration.
This is a declaration.
Yes,
okay.
thank you. The declaration.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Can we just have a picture? One document this side, one document
in the middle. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, please. May we have the high table in front just for witnessing. You are now bearing witness to this handover. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Decided this last time I'm doing photographs for video. Excuse me. No, I'm just going to do audio in future. I can't even look.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We just preserved history today. And thank you, Ms. Amwalwa. The nation listened and watched. So thank you for keeping that safe for us and preserving it for our future generations. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating all stakeholders involved in preserving this important chapter of our national and global heritage. Please, let's clap for them. I would like to make a little change on the program so that we just move smoothly and finish everything at once. As we draw towards the conclusion of our program, I thought we should just then do the vote of thanks, and then we take our photograph later and we continue mingling and talk about the history of the 1991. I would like to call to the podium Mr. Ferdinand Katire, Deputy Secretary General of NATCOM, to deliver the vote of thanks. A round of applause, please.
I think it's still morning. Good morning. Good morning. I will stand on the established protocol as I deliver the vote of thanks. And maybe permit me to start by thanking the Director of Ceremonies, I think, for competently directing us this morning. We can give her a hand. Now, I come from the Namibia National Commission for UNESCO. Maybe a brief note on what is the Namibia National Commission for UNESCO, or what are National Commissions for UNESCO. National Commissions for UNESCO are established according to the UNESCO Constitution. UNESCO is the only UN body that has that type of arrangement, whose constitution calls for member states to establish national commissions, whose mandate, amongst others, is to associate government institutions, NGOs, experts with the work of UNESCO. We are sincerely grateful for the Honorable Dr. Sanet Elstjenkamp, Minister of Education, Innovation, Youth, Sports, Arts and Culture, and also the chairperson of the Namibia National Commission for UNESCO, as well as the Deputy Minister of Information and Communication Technology, Honorable Kavaka, for delivering the government message this morning. Further, we wish to extend our appreciation to Mr. Toivoa Jambala for speaking on behalf of the journalists, for bringing the voices of Namibian and African journalists to this occasion. We are sincerely grateful to Mrs. Gwan List for providing us with a rich historical account and background discussions and activities that led to the adoption of the Windhoek Declaration, as well as highlighting the impact of the declaration thereafter, concluding by alerting us to the new challenges that requires our attention and action. We are grateful to Her Excellency Ambassador Martens, as well as Ms. Eunice Smith, for offering the international perspective to this event, and further pledging their commitment to work with Namibia as we work towards ensuring the media freedom and freedom of expression. We thank all the journalists, the policymakers, the academics, the civil society representatives that have joined us this morning. You have demonstrated that you care with the commitment that I expressed in the Windhoek Declaration. And finally, I wish to conclude by acknowledging the team that have put this event together, that consists of, or under the leadership of the Ministry of ICT. The Namibia National Commission for UNESCO has also been involved, the Namibia Media Trust, the Editors Forum of Namibia, Namibia Libraries and Archive Services, UNESCO, and you also have heard that support that was rendered by the Finnish Embassy. Thank you for making this event a success. And I will conclude by wishing you then a successful weekend, hoping that we'll continue our engagement and we'll see each other next year as we commemorate the 2027 World Press Freedom Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Katire. And that actually somehow concludes the official part of this program, and I would like to thank you all for joining us as we commemorated the World Press Freedom Day. It is not commemorated on the 8th of May, but the 3rd of May, and we witnessed the historic handover of the Windhoek Declaration certificate of inscription. May we all continue to uphold and protect the principles of media freedom, freedom of expression, and access to information for generations to come. I now kindly request everyone to rise for the AU and the national anthems. Thank you. We may be seated. I just have just one announcement to make. For the group photo, we are going to take a group photo outside after this glass door. There's a door somewhere here that will be opened, and we can exit from here. Then there are stairs here that can actually accommodate all of us. We want everybody to form part of this history. So we'll fit somewhere here outside, and then we take that huge group photo. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much and have a pleasant day.